Hey everybody, it's Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. Got a little time here, a little pry from the heat. It's a nice, cool 90, not 105 like it's been, so trying to take advantage of that, get some time, some stuff out here in the shop taken care of. And we're going to do that tonight by taking a look at some tools by Channellock. That's right, nice new sticker there. And of course, we've got this one, spoiler alert. I'll do what I do with almost every sticker. I'll put a magnet on it. And we will utilize them to our heart's content, and if we decide that we found a better place, we can relocate them harm and pain free. So before we get into this, I do need to tell you they've got a promotion going. If you spend $100 right now at Channellock, shop.channellock.com, I'll have a link down below for you. You get a free hat, free shipping number one, free hat number two, makes it a double win. And if you go to the $200 threshold, you will get the hat, the t-shirt, and you guessed it, the free shipping. So pretty nice hat. I've got another one that I kind of won a couple years back. It's held up fairly well. This is, I don't want to call it like a digital camo, but it's almost, that's the best way I would know to describe it. Sort of, if you cross like a carbon fiber digital camo, sort of grayscale black with the Channellock logo. Do with that what you will, but again, if you're in need of anything, $100 gets you that mark. You might be saying like, hey, why would I do that? If you missed my previous videos where we introduced some of their other stuff, they started selling direct, and you think, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm still going to buy it at Home Depot. Hold up. Before you do, check the prices, right? If you're in there anyway, I get it, but if you're going to order it in online, check the price, because you might be pleasantly surprised to see that the OEM might have a slightly lower or a significantly lower price, or even in some cases stock when other places don't. Similarly, it could be something as simple as, if you're in that neck of the woods, it's a quicker transit time from where you're going to buy. So always think about those things and do what works out best for you and your pocketbook. But what we have here, I'm very excited about these. When these first came out, I was going to buy them, and I couldn't. And the reason is, they didn't have the three-piece set. They had individuals. And I'm thrifty, and I wanted to go ahead and go with the three-piece set. This is a tool that I personally believe you can't have too many of, and I'll delve into that deeper here in a second. But what we've got is part number PRY-3C. Some of you might be able to deduce what that is, and there's a very good chance you're correct. So let's just go ahead and throw this down for you. We have got Channellock's Pry Bars. You're thinking like, oh hey, you know, I think I've seen these, you know. Very popular size, oddly enough, is like the 8-inch. And if you're thinking like, what would you do with an 8-inch pry bar? Some of you are thinking that, others of you are like, oh yeah. And, you would be surprised all the time. I would love to use this big 25-inch, more leverage, right? Why don't I do that? It's quite simple, space constraints. If you're under a vehicle, you know, if you're like me and you don't have a lift, right, you're on a creeper and you've got jack stands supporting your workpiece, as much as I would love to have the extra leverage and it would make my life significantly easier and less stressful, I can't fit that. Spoiler alert, this, even though at work I often find myself using like the 17-inch size, 18-inch range, if you will, so like the sweet spot. Here at the house, again, that's sometimes simply too big. The 12-inch there kind of clocks in as a sweet spot. Again, if I've got the space, if I'm standing upright and I'm like, you know, tearing apart a pallet or breaking something off a pallet type of a thing, I want the biggest, longest, strongest pry bar I can get. If I'm underneath a vehicle, I still want that, but sometimes I can't. So the little 8-inch guy, you know, which is sort of the smallest one they would offer, stuff like brake calipers, right? You can't fit this. You could totally probably fit the 12 in most cases, but you get the idea. It's sometimes literally a space constraint that forces you to downsize. So beyond that, why would you want multiple pry bars? Well, it's simple. Same or exact reason. This is why you've seen me bring in multiple sets here, and you always hear me talk about this if you're a veteran viewer of the channel. This is often a sweet spot for me. The 17-inch, the 12-inch, again, due to space constraints. When you're exerting leverage on something, and you're trying to do it not wonkily and not haphazardly, all right? Maybe you're on your knees, you know, and you're working them like a paddle. In order for me to do this and kind of pop one side up and get the other side going, keep it even killed, maybe it's something delicate, maybe it's something you're just trying to keep from damaging or popping off. It could be a toolbox, you're lifting something heavy, trying to slide a load, whatever it might be. You could accomplish that with a set like this. But if you had two of the same size bars, your life could potentially be significantly easier. That is a huge reason why you see me bring in multiple sets. It's solely to have doubles, and that's because instead of using a 25 and a 17, it's much more conducive for me if I'm using two 17s or a 12 paired with another 12 as opposed to a 17. Again, put yourself in those situations, whatever you're doing. Maybe you're trying to separate something, pull something apart, move something over and anchor it, and you kind of want the leverage of holding something back and then moving this over. Exhaust systems all the time, headers, wheeling, you know, collectors into shape, along those lines, especially if you're not heating them up. There's a myriad of things where just the, I don't know what the word would be, equilibrium maybe, of having the same size is a huge benefit. So 12, 17, 25. Some of you are like, okay, well, hey, the 8-inch sounds really good, you know, especially brake calipers. I have a deal. I've got cheap pry bars I'd like to upgrade, but they're too big, you know, when I do brake calipers. Or, hey, I've got this little thing I do at work and I need to pry up, but the bar is just too big for the housing or the panel or whatever it might be. 8-inch is available. The entire size range from Channellock here, just to run you through the gauntlet. We'd have the 8-inch. This 3-piece set kind of covers the heart of the lineup. 12, 17, 25. I feel like that's going to get most people out the door. Good homeowner, general purpose type of a thing. 8-inch is a nice add-on. And if you're curious, you can get the 8-inch for around $10. $12.62 currently. Again, always pair with sales when possible. The 12-inch, you're going to clock in at $15.42. The 17, barely anything more, $15.59. When you jump up to the 25-inch, you do increase a little bit more to the $20.44 mark. The 31-inch, it'd be the next iteration. You would be at $22.99 basically. Then they've got a 36-inch and they've got a 45-inch. That's going to be the top dog in the Channellock lineup. You would be looking at $34 and $45 respectively. So if you math these three together, you got a accrued value $51.45. However, as I mentioned, the reason we didn't bring these in months ago, weren't in stock. At least at the store I was at. Plus that store has terrible hours. I don't know what they were thinking. They closed down, like, they've got bank hours, and then nobody that really would shop there can get there unless you're not at work, and that it's a strange deal. But I'm sure they got them in shortly after that. I've just never been back because they're never open. $48.68 is the price for this 3-piece set from Channellock. And you're thinking like, okay, well, that's cool, but you know, Harbor Freight, you know, they've got better deals, like $9-20, you know, for some of their stuff. This is American made. And you're like, whoa, no. Like, you're screwing around here, buddy. You know, the Harbor Freight stuff, we get it, you know, $10 for the Pittsburghs. Yeah, the handles may break. Some of their fancier ones, they actually do, to their credit, have American made ones. They're Mayhew in the Icon line. You're going to pay for them, but I mean, to Harbor Freight's credit, they finally made that happen. So you've got the whole gauntlet there, from dirt cheap to mid-tier all the way up to expensive stuff. You're thinking, well, this is too cheap. This is like import prices. I agree. This does seem like it would be priced for import stuff. You get on Amazon, I bet you right now you can find some similar 3, maybe 4-piece sets with a little 8-inch or 10-inch thrown in there for probably the $30 to $60 range, depending on the handle and maybe if there's a case or a foam tray or something with it. And you think, yeah, but you know, those are Chinese or made in Taiwan or something, so quit screwing around. You know, these are really from Taiwan, right? No, they are not. They are 100% American made. That's very important, aside from the obvious reason, but because of what that entails. Now, People might look at these, and some people's criticism would be like, oh, that's too small. You know, look at that. This is too small of a stock. This is where, if you're a veteran viewer again of the channel, you've heard me talk about this many times. The material, the base material. You don't think anything about it because it's all a ratchet's a ratchet, a wrench is a wrench, right? Until you look at the base material. A factory in China, right? God help the people having to crank stuff out as cheap as they can for the people speccing it out. They have to finish it out. They have to chrome plate it. They've got the internals. They've got all the machining steps everyone else does. Lower labor, yes, but what do we do past the lower labor rate to drop the price? Your base material. Some of you are nodding your heads in agreement. You're like, yeah, that's why I break that. You're 100% right. This is not assembled in America, okay? Not like global components and it's glued together by someone in factory. No, no, no. This is American. The whole thing, including the most important part, which is the steel. That is a huge, huge difference, and it's why you might have your chonk over here. You're like, well, I got a pry bar that's got stock this big. Yeah, you probably do, because it's necessary to kind of build up, you know, the desired weight range or load capacities when they're testing the thing versus a higher quality steel. Again, over time, you kind of pick up on this stuff, whether it's with hardware. You'll see that all the time. You get something and it's, you know, semi-decent quality, but then it's got just junk grade 2 buttery hardware. You can look at the bolt and basically round the corners off type of hardware. You know, you go to tighten it down and you're not even putting much torque on it, and you know your nylock is stuck in your socket type of a thing. That's inferior base metals, right? This is not an issue there, and the kicker is it's sold as if this was just junk off of Amazon. So if you're looking for a bargain and you want to buy American, this is, again, it's kind of like this with all of Channellock, really. You've got like your real expensive stuff that's great and everyone likes or wants to try. You've got your dirt cheap junk, and then a lot of people settle in that mid-tier. Usually in the mid-tier, you know, it's either China or Taiwan most of the time. There are American companies that have stuff in that price range or just barely above it, and you're getting a much higher quality product. And again, that's kind of what we have here. So the rest of you are like, whoa, you know, hey, you know, I believe this guy. It's got the USA, and he's vouched out, checked out in the past, but I've got something else bothering me. This looks stupid familiar. And you're like, it's not the blue, but just the pry bar. Well, think about this, okay? When we, not too long ago, introduced these little gems, some of you are like, you know, hey, you know, that looks, it's a nice looking driver, love the blue. That looks similar to something I've seen. Mayhew, right? Channellock, American company, they make pliers. That's what they do. They do it very well. They support other American companies. Shocking, I know. Mayhew cranks out the drivers. That would be the OEM behind that driver. And you're thinking like, oh, Mayhew does these. Well, that's weird. You know, I thought the Dominators had a different handle than that. They do. And you're thinking, oh, Channellock spec this out. Maybe it's like a big upgrade. You know, you mentioned this one spun faster because of the feel of it, right? It didn't have the texture of the Mayhew. What did they do here to set it apart? Well, Mayhew didn't do anything to set it apart because this is not made by Mayhew. And you're thinking like, whoa, what? Who else makes pry bars in America? If you've been in Walmart, many of you probably have this in your toolbox. You're thinking like, that's it. I know what it is. Hyper Tough. And you're thinking like, I didn't know Hyper Tough. Well, they don't. Well, that's, again, private labeling, right? So the Hyper Tough line at Walmart is going to look eerily similar to this, but it will have red. You know me, blue is a huge deal. It's a significant upgrade. If the Hyper Tough is sitting there for $9.99 and the Channellock blue is there for $10.99 and they're made in the same factory, I'm going over here to Channellock land because it's blue. Sounds petty, but again, you know, there is a price point where I might deviate from that, but anything marginally or the same or even less, I'm going to go with my color preference. Personal deal, right? So you're still back to this. You're like, who makes that? Well, the answer, and some of you are going to jump the gun and say, oh, you mispronounced that, buddy. I assure you, I've done my absolute best to ensure that I pronounce this correctly. It's Wilde. Some of you are like, Wilde? What junk are you speaking? Some of you might think it's Wilde or Wild. The E is silent type of a thing. I promise you, just like when I say Knipex, and I have shirts and stickers that back that up. Well, the company backs it up. I'm very confident in this. Wilde E. Think of Wile E. Coyote. Take Wild and add an E. Wilde E. Right? American company. In fact, if I come over here on top, 2 pliers that are really never not on this bench. My beloved 318 CBs, and then Proto flush fit fastener, right? This is super nice because you're not going to have the nut or even the button head, you know, fastener on the other side. It's flush. That's why it says flush fit fastener. And you think like, oh, Proto, yeah, good stuff. What if I told you Proto doesn't make these? You're blasphemous. Look right there. It's laser etched, fool. Yeah, it is. Proto is laser etched there. It's those flush fastener, and if you bothered to look that up, you would see a company with a name of Wilde with an E on the end that's pronounced Wildy is the OEM on those pliers. Proto found something great, and they're like, hey, I want in on that. And of course, that's what they do. So this, yes, the OEM is going to be Wildy. Again, if you want to argue with that, go ahead. But I genuinely believe I am correct there. What is my source? Go type in Wilde Tool. Go to their YouTube channel. There's going to be 2 videos. There's going to be a like 1.5-minute plant tour, and then there's going to be one where they talk, ironically, about flush fit fasteners. 12 years ago, the employee, if that was incorrect, they either have no social media presence or team, or it was just an epic troll where he intentionally mispronounced the company name. But that employee multiple times announces the company name as Wildy. So that's exactly what we're going with. Why did Channellock spec this out over Mayhew? I couldn't tell you. Maybe they like him better. Maybe it's a better partnership. Maybe they like to spread the love. It could be as simple as that. All right. If they started doing sockets, they might do Ernst socket bosses. And if they got into bringing in wrench lines or something that they spec out, maybe they go with a different organizer. Who knows? I just know that these are stupidly priced for an American-made tool, and I'm very excited. True story, I do believe I've used Hyper Tough pry bars, but it's nothing I've personally owned. I'm not sure that they were Hyper Tough, but I'm quite confident they were made by Wilde because it had this handle in red, no writing that was at least legible or silkscreen printing or anything. So nonetheless, with that style of a handle and the fact that they were together, my friends had them, that was probably their parents' tools at the time, lends itself to that. So what we have going here is very nice because it's different, and that gives me options. And we're probably going to have to get these out off camera past this short one because nobody wants to sit and watch this. But if we can free it from its captive cocoon there, this is what we want to take a look at. This one, again, going to be the 12-inch out of the set, indicated by the PR12C. We got the Channellock branding and logo here that's on the sticker earlier, USA. On the shank, you don't see anything laser etched. We don't see anything stamped. There is a small stamping there. Looks like a WS or an SM. Who would know? I don't. But it's a black oxide finish. Something versus an import pry bar. This is one thing that I have had good luck with the El-Cheapos. I really have. But one thing that they suck at is they rarely have a sharp edge. And when they do, it goes away really fast. See also cutting corners and the base material. So I think this one, this is almost like gasket scraper sharp. It was very impressive when these came in. The shank, again, black oxide. The handle itself, we're going to have that same logo, warning, wear safety glasses, user and bystander. That's right, you don't want to blind one of your friends. But right there, almost a mirror finish, but this is a striking cap. And you think, okay, they cheaped that out. They just like glued on a button, right? No, this is done properly, okay? This has the shank all the way through to the cap. So whenever you hit the cap, you're basically driving that force right down into your square stock, which is how it should be. The thing about this, aside from the, again, Channellock Blue, which again, personally, I like and would prefer much better than any other handle iteration I've seen, this differs from this driver. And where this is smooth and we can turn it really fast, right? Because of that, there's no texture. This is heavily textured. Looks almost like a pebble grain. And that is what I would want in a pry bar. The reason for that, you've heard me when I bought the Max. You're like, idiot, you know, Max are made by Mayhew. Yeah, I'm totally aware of that. The thing is, I actually like very well the Mayhew Dominator handle. I like it really, really well. Comfortable, fits my hand great. And you're like, well, what's the problem? Why would you pay more for Mac? The colors, that's stupid. That's too much money for the color. I totally agree with you in that case for color. But one day, similar to this, super, super hot, right? My hands are sweaty. Sweat, not oil, not antifreeze. Just like, it's freaking hot, right? I kept having the pry bar slip. And I got a hold on the Max, and I was like, I like this handle better. And I've used those at work a ton in the heat, and guess what? I don't have that same problem. It's mitigated a bit. So this right here is a very welcome addition. Again, just kind of gliding my thumb across there. You can sort of pick up on it. And this, I think, will be a very, very nice addition for us. What I'm going to do here is pull these out, and we're going to take a look at some examples, and then we're going to showcase why it's nice to have multiples in the same size. Alright, before we head over there, this little piece here is apparently separate. It actually says reusable hanger. I'm not sure how many of you would want to do that, just because it would kind of be cumbersome to pull these inserts every single time, especially on the big 25-inch. You could totally do that. If you got pegboard or something, you could hang this up. And the thing is, if I clock this back here, you can actually, you know what, let's just do that. I think, and I could totally be mistaken here, and some of you, well, I would say the majority of you probably have no care, but I pulled these little pucks out, these little rubber pucks that were kind of friction holding that. And you think, well, idiot, you should have left it if you're going to reuse them. Here's the deal. This is what I want to show you. I'm assuming, unless you just really enjoy a struggle, especially again on the big size, with those pucks out, right? You can see the outboards have the rubber in them. This doesn't, but see how it nests right there? If you wanted to hang these, or maybe this is like an auxiliary set type of a thing, take these little pucks out, or cut them, or whatever you want to do. I personally would go this route just for ease of convenience and everything. This would legitimately be a pry bar holder. Lots of things you could do, like you could use little Harbor Freight hooks, you know, and hang this thing like that. It's actually not a bad idea. These are pretty lightweight. I don't think you would drag them down, especially having two magnets holding that. And again, just always make sure that your Channellock logo faces out, so your blade, these are all curved. I don't know that we covered that, should be self-obvious, but have that face out so you don't like dig into the finish on your toolbox or card or something, and you could totally do that. So not sure, that's a bonus material for some of you if you're like, man, I wish I had somewhere my cart's full, or you know, I don't want to waste slots in my cart because I keep screwdrivers and nut drivers and ratchets and extensions there. That's a legitimate option. But that brings me back to this piece, because it's what I wanted to cover. With the pry bars out of the way, again, you can see the part number PRY3C, again, 12, 17, 25, 100%, even the handle, everything, made in the USA. And perhaps more importantly for some of you, you've got a lifetime warranty. Specs on the back, which could be, you know, actually right there it says reusable hanger too. So if you're like, well, yeah, dummy, how couldn't you see that? Well, it says it there as well. I'm not going to make that focus, but right above my thumb, so this route would be better. But right there, the 12-inch, it's got the 5/8 cut. That would kind of be on the tip end, I believe. 3/8 stock, 7-inch exposed bar. Again, that could be important. Obviously, you got like 5 inches of handle there in that case. The 17-inch, if we, you know, sit there and we think, well, 12-inch exposed, 5-inch handle again, right? 3/8 stock once more, and then we bump up from a .375 to a .500 as we go to the 1/2-inch stock, which is why it was so much harder to get that out of this little peg here on our big 25-inch. So I will leave it at that. Again, we may demo that at the end of the video. Actually, I'll take the rest of those pucks out and we'll see if that actually works. I think it'll kind of be cool if it does. I'm envisioning it on the gantry crane, but I'm thinking that might be just a little too wide, but we will try it, and I think it could be cool. So anyway, let's run over to a different location real quick. All right, change of scenery, not much to see, but we have a Mayhew Dominator. And I know some of you are thinking like, hey, that thing is in really good condition. What's the deal? I don't know if I've ever used it. You know, I do think we have light stuff that you can barely tell. But this is simply bigger than the things I've needed to do. I would have loved to have used this as opposed to the small ones, but it physically doesn't happen. All right. What can physically happen is a quick comparison here. So this is really nice, seeing the blue and the blue together. But this is Channellock, Wilde, and this is Mayhew's Dominator, right? You do actually seem to have more of a kick with the Wilde. That might come in handy. These are both beefy. These are both fan-frickin-tastic tools, right? It's going to come down to, what do you prefer? What was the better deal? What's in stock? As I grab this one, my hand is slipping. And again, I say that as someone, I really do like that handle. I just don't like the way that it's kind of performs when you have to use it. If that makes sense. This, on the other hand, is textured. Ergonomically, I might lean that direction, but in terms of, oh hey, my hands are sweaty or covered in something, might wind up preferring that route. Now, you're thinking like, well, that's not really a great comparison. They're basically the same thing. I want to say my Dominator sets were all 12, 17, 25 as well. But what I want to do is bring in some other comparisons, right? So we're gonna, let's go this guy. It's probably the closest, our 17-inch. And we're gonna come in right here, and we've got this one. This is an El-Cheapo Harbor Freight one. Haven't used it as much. Like, I got it and used the snot out of it, and then it's just kind of been hanging out, literally hanging out, waiting to be used. What I want to highlight here, we get a nice little comparison. It does have the idiot hand guard, you know, like if you're somebody that can't hammer, you know, just their safety feature, this or that. Slightly different lengths, but you know how I told you how the import ones, look how thin that is, and you think, oh, look how sharp that. No, it doesn't get sharp. This is just like a dull edge. You know, if we had like a registration sticker or something stupid, I legitimately believe that I could claw that thing off like a gasket scraper, at least out of the box with this Channellock one. So you've got that going, and if you're thinking like, okay, well, you know, you did a 25-inch, you did a 17-inch, what's going to be your short comparison? Well, let's grab this guy again, brand new, never used, and then let's get this old stalwart here. Lots of times, the reason this is intact as well as it is because I don't do that. This is not a striking cap. You can totally bang on these handles. A lot of old SK screwdrivers. Some of you are probably guilty or have inherited or bought them at garage sales, estate sales, that sort of a thing. But this guy, very well used, very well loved. It's actually probably the sharpest like El-Cheapo that I've got. It's held an edge quite nicely. But if I bring this into form, this is just a little bit more confidence inspiring, right? And, you can see like roughly the same sizes, even though we've got like, what, 4 different brands here. We've got Pittsburgh, that may be Pittsburgh, I don't really know what they called it. And then we've got Mayhew. But where I'm more concerned about a comparison with this is with the Mayhew equivalent. Why? I've got something going on where I would really prefer to have 3, maybe 4 pry bars, and you're thinking like, of the same length? And the answer is yes. So those of you that may recall, we walked into a great deal on those original Dominators, and then I got an orange set like stupid cheap, and of course it matches the roll cart, and I like orange and black like I like blue and black, so we did this. This guy has not had as easy of a life as, say, that 25-inch, which is like pried a few. Well, I think it really did tear down a pallet, and that may be all it did. Again, I don't candy coat things. I'm pretty straightforward with you here. This guy, he's seen some things, right? And it's going to compare very well with the little Pittsburgh and our small Channellock. However, somebody that's seen a little bit more than Mr. Agent Orange there is going to be the blue equivalent, because I've had it longer. So we could probably clean some of this off, but like I said, they're currently in use doing something. And I want to add that channel lock because it's literally, here's what happens if you're curious. If you're trying to move something, right? You've got this one wedged in, and as soon as you start exerting leverage with this one, this can drop out, or it's prone to. So I'm thinking if I can maybe wedge this in the front, go back with this one, and then have the channel lock in the middle and kind of manhandle the front one, hopefully, and have the back just sort of serve as a anchor resting spot. That's what's panning out in my head right now. I don't know if it's really going to happen or not. But these two, I think that one's got some aniseeds on it, dadgum. Just can't get away from the stuff. Right here, this is a great trio, in my opinion. Granted, you know, the channel lock may show a little bit better right now because it's, you know, had Easy Street. It just got showcased in the video and hasn't had to do anything to prove itself yet. But that's a pretty killer trio right there. And again, this size, you're thinking like, he's the big ones. Again, I can't. I would love to. There's no space for me to. If I had a lift, I could probably do that, and I would use them instead of these small ones. As is right now, this is what fits. I can't fit the 17 inchers. I've got to use these, and this is going to be a welcome addition. Again, these are two of the ones that kind of proved to me. My other orange ones are kind of beat up a little bit more. That's why we got the blue one for comparison. But these are where I was like, you know what, like, that's slipping in my hand, especially when you're out of that groove. Like, if I've got that nestled up and I'm down here trying to just get max extension with this, I was slipping real bad. That's why I've got max. I wish I had the max here, where these have mainly pried, like literally. The ones at work, I'm doing some stuff where I've beat the ever-living snot out of the end caps, you know? And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't really know what I want to do with the channel lock set. This one's very important to me right now here, so I want to do that, but I'm tempted to ultimately take them to work to pair with the max, just again, so I've got two of the same size. Convenient. I think the max were odd sizes though. Might look into that, but yeah, that's kind of what we've got going. And again, I cannot stress enough, having the same size. You would think, no, I don't want any redundancy. I want to have, you know, an 8, a 10, a 12, a 14, a 16, and 18. There's merits to that too. But I assure you, depending on what you're doing, you're going to run into a situation where, like, man, I wish I had another 24-inch. I wish I had another 12-inch. I wish I had two 45s. All right. And that's where this set is going to shine immediately for me. The other thing, when I use those old Wilde bars or Hyper Toughs or whatever they were with friends, that was a long time ago. I'm excited to kind of see how this holds up to me now. Sweaty hands, greasy hands, oily hands, anesthesia hands, pizza grease hand, whatever it might be. I think this texture is going to be very, very nice and a welcome addition, particularly here at the house. But for the money, and I will tell you, the channel lock set clocks in about, if you're getting good deals on both, roughly $20 cheaper than the Mayhews. If you have the options, the great news, the channel locks you can find almost anywhere. Part stores, sometimes Walmart might have them. I know they have them online. Of course, Jungle Site, they're going to have both. But this is something you benefit by getting it in your hand, right? So an Ace Hardware, Do It Best, whatever you have locally, mom and pop hardware store, you know the drill. Maybe Napa's even. If they've got channel lock, they can get these. They probably have them. You can just walk up and get a feel for this handle. The Mayhews, sadly, every time I've seen them in person, they're bundled up just like when you see me unbox them. It's a very comfortable ergonomic handle. I've just learned over time, like, it's slipping on me. And again, if I'm dry, if I'm not sweating, if it was wintertime or something, it wouldn't be a big issue. But in the right weather conditions or in the right, oh geez, I'm filthy conditions, I don't know about it. The Mac has shown superior. Again, pretty big price jump, Mayhew to Mac, but it's been worth it to me. It's not necessarily a color thing. They're green, but they're not like a green. We won't go into it. This is bar none, the most economical, all-American made pry bar on the market. Again, if you're like, man, you know, I can't find the channel locks, I think I'm going to pull the trigger on them, but I wish I could check them out. If you go to Walmart, and you're welcome, you know, to pick them up, hyper tough, whatever you want to do. Again, maybe you pair them with the channel locks to have the same size set, something along those lines. That'll give you a good feel of the handle. I want to say, as best I remember, they're textured just like this, but red. If you like that, if you're someone like me, whether you like channel lock or you just prefer blue over red or black or whatever is in the stores, I think a couple other hardware stores, probably private label, the Wildes. I don't have any around here. Might be Menards, somewhere like some Midwest northern thing I don't know about. But I think a couple other tool companies over the years may have used them as well. But get your hands on the handle, and if you like it but you prefer blue, then make your purchase. And again, check channel lock, because the price is often 10-15 bucks better than you'll find on the internet, right? Maybe your jungle site's good, maybe you can get it for the same price or a little less. If you buy 2 sets of them and you get some, say you want to try out their screwdrivers or pliers, you're getting the free hat. You know, if you need to replace some pliers at work, you're getting Christmas gifts for people, you get a free shirt out of the deal too. But that's what I've got for you. That's what we have here. Again, very, very excited to use these. I'm kind of thinking I may take them to work. I think they look good in the cart, and they would again complement the Macs. I was always thinking I'd buy like another Mac, in the 17 inch is what I use the most at work if I had to remember Mac, whatever the mid-tier Mac one is. We'll just run with 17. So here it's been 12s. There it's a 17, and then every once in a while I do get to bust out the big one. I think that was a 4-piece set. Like, it's a good size one, 36ish maybe. That one sees quite a bit of use too, but the most used is probably the 17 at work. So if I had this at work to pair with those, I'd be a pretty happy guy. So we shall see. That would also, I'd probably be way more likely to use a striking cap frequently. That's something that gets used and abused there. So, well, that said, that's what we got. I do have one bonus for you before we go. I'm going to see. I haven't done it yet. I just want to see if we can make that little reusable hanger thing actually function here in the real world. My apologies to the color contrast people out there, but by gosh, wait till you see this. 25, 17, 12. What's going on? That's what's going on. They're totally... Turns out it's a reusable hanger as advertised. So you're thinking like, well, show us, prove it to us. It's exactly what I told you. It's literally just 2 of the Harbor Freight magnets holding that little card. And these suckers are held beautifully. They're not slipping. I've rolled the card around a little bit. Again, picture, you know, maybe a blue, black card, something that would look a little better stylistically here with the channel lock colors. But by gosh, that is totally an option for you. But maybe we got one more thing we can take a look at. Man, that's some expensive fuel line that's just like absolutely filthy. Need to get that taken care of. But what are we going to look at? Just something I thought, since the drivers are here, I thought, you know, I wonder what that would look like. And as we come up, we'll take a look. There's our pry bars, again, pristine mint condition. And boom, those old things, right? Yeah, tried and true Channellock beater drivers or so. That's one of the things, like, those drivers seemed so cool to me back when I brought them in. And I've just had them constantly on this little cart that I wheel around with parts. And I thought, you know what, I wonder what they would be like there. Obviously they fit. This is probably one of the only good things from Performance Tool I've gotten in recent memory, but it was, geez, a long time ago now. But yeah, I thought that would kind of be just a little cool setup there. But whether it's a tray like this, a roll cart, whether it's using that little hanger on the back of a cart with the magnets, anything is possible with these. Again, the 25-incher there, pretty legit. But yeah, time will tell. We're going to need to use these things, see what we think of them, get some seat time with them, kind of compare and contrast with the others. I'm excited to do just that. Again, the 12-incher will be used immediately. So I'm pretty excited about that. They may wind up at work, again, to kind of pair with the Max, but we'll see. With that said, though, let me know your thoughts. I know some of you have probably picked these up and have been using them for a while. If so, what are your thoughts? How have they held up? If you haven't, but you're a fan of Wilde's pry bars, whether it's Hyper Tough or straight from Wilde back in the day, what do you think of them? How have they held up? If you have seat time with other pry bars, particularly, say, Mayhew's Dominators, maybe it's Snap-on, I think those are the big three that are made in America, what do you lean to and why? Is it performance over time? Is it just for the price you can't beat these, literally, like it's impossible to do? Is it, well, the Snap-on handle is so good it's worth the extra 120? Whatever your thoughts and opinions are, again, especially with first-hand experience, chime in, let everybody know. That's the end goal here. I do want to reiterate one more time, the 3-piece set, you do save a little bit. If you think, man, I'd really like the 12, but, you know, I think the 8 would be good for me, and then maybe just the biggest one. They're all available standalone. Currently just a 3-piece set, 12, 17, 25, but again, if you wanted to buy the 8-inch and the biggest 45-inch, you can do that. If you just want to come in and get the 17 and the 31, you can make that happen. So they're all standalone. You can get the 3-piece set. They are ridiculously reasonably priced. I cannot stress that enough. Again, particularly when you consider what some of the El-Cheapos, not naming any names, cost. These aren't that much more expensive, and again, the quality jump is very significant. But again, first-hand feedback, maybe you've got them at work, maybe a buddy has them. Whatever your thoughts may be, feel free to share them. With that said, I'm going to get inside, make a sandwich, try to cool off a little bit. Do hope you enjoyed, hope you learned a little something. Next time we're back, we'll probably have some seat time with these ourselves, be able to give you an update, so stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I encourage you to leave a like. If you haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do that. If you ring the bell, you jump your charger across the creek while wielding your Channellock 17-inch pry bar. YouTube just might let you know we got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, thanks so much for watching, and I hope I catch you back here for more action from the shop.